هذا مكان اغتيال مالكوم اكس، يعني القاعة فوق، فهم جعلوا هنا جعلوا هذا تمثال Was he that tall?
He was tall. He was over 6 feet tall.
True height?
I think it is his true height.
Yeah.
This piece was commissioned for the opening of the ballroom.
Yeah. I didn't realize he was so tall. Well, he used to dance here, didn't he? Yeah.
This was the Audubon Ballroom. They used to have public gatherings, meetings, dance hall. It was all of that.
Inshallah, we should make a.
ايوه لا لا ان شاء الله. ما تعيد صوت عالي. Can we view what happened? Can you tell us what? I mean, he was giving a lecture, and
كان يلقي محاضرة.
أمامه كان الأودينس.
كلهم هنا.
They just came.
في واحد قام وشاغب. في واحد قام وشاغب، فكل الناس التفتوا إليه. واحد آخر أتى ببندقية، يعني وضربه مباشرة عدة مرات هنا. ذبحه.
He knew he was in danger. I mean, he almost knew that.
He knew. He said, "I'm a dead man already."
What was the sentence for the killer? I mean, is he still alive?
There were four. One was shot.
One was shot, and people wonder if that was actually one. I mean, there's speculation about that, if that was actually one of the people who did the actual shooting. One of the men who confessed is now released. He's on parole, right? I mean, long time in prison. And others are still in jail.
Thanks for bringing us here.
So the space, let me just show you the space around here.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله، هذا جزء كذلك من مركز شونبرغ في دراسات تراث السود في أمريكا، ونحن ما شاء الله مع عائشة عدوية وأندري إليزي. وهذا أندري إليزي هو المؤرخ هنا، وشغله يخص الحفاظ على التراث المادي هنا، مثلا الكتب والورقات والأوراق، هذه الأشياء. هو مسؤول خاصة عن مالكوم اكس، لأن مالكوم اكس جزء أساسي من المركز شونبرغ، حتى نحن على شارع مالكوم اكس. نعم، هذا سمي على مالكوم اكس. فنحن سنتكلم معهم في هذا، وهذه الأشياء كلها تتعلق بحياته وبمساهمته في النضال هنا في أمريكا ضد نظام الظلم والاستبداد والعنصرية وإنجازاته كذلك. هذا كل الكتب. نعم، هو مالكوم ألف كتاب واحد فقط وهو الأوتوبيوغرافي، سيرته الذاتية، وهو ألفه مع واحد مشهور جدا أليكس هيلي. وأليكس هيلي أنتج برنامج تلفزيوني اسمه روتس، الجذور. ومالكوم هو كان يقول أجدادنا كانوا مسلمين، فنحن عندنا انتماء طبيعي للإسلام لأن أجدادنا وجذورنا إسلامية. ففي واحد مؤرخ هنا، ليس مؤرخا رسميا لكن مؤرخ على كل حال، كاتب اسمه ميتشنر أنكر هذا وكتب مقالة في مجلة مشهورة أن هذا كله خزعبلات ومالكوم إكس ما عنده أي أساس لهذا الكلام. أليكس هيلي لما سمع هذا هو كان يساعده، هو أراد أن يبحث عن أجداده، فهو بحث ووجد أن جده الكبير مسلم في سنغامبيا، فهو أثبت نظرية مالكوم، شهيد مالكوم أو مالك شباز.
Is his books written prior to his change of convictions and mentalities, or because he only had a year maybe?
Right. The book started before the separation, and then was completed after the separation. But the book itself was published after his death.
Andre, can I ask you, what's the importance of archiving? I mean, because this is your work.
It's a very simple and also very complex reality. There is a whole legend about Malcolm X. That Malcolm X means so much to people here, to African Americans and to black people generally. And yet, how much of the legend is true? Well, the papers tell the truth, and now that we have acquired the Malcolm X papers, then scholars and also people from the community can come and verify for themselves whether what they have heard either in the community or in the media, how much has been distorted.
Well, we have a culture of deconstructing heroes. I mean, we love to do that. Just people that are built up, we like to tear them down. Have they been successful with Malcolm? I mean, is that something, what do you think?
Well, scholars have not had a chance to look at the papers
All
yet.
right, so it's still, the debate's on.
Right. But it seems to me that the little bit I have been able to see, that Malcolm X was a man of his words.
That's what, I mean, I think, Malcolm once said, the only thing I have is sincerity. He didn't have a college degree, he was self-taught, had immense energy, but he said, the chord that I strike in the hearts of others is because I'm real, I'm speaking from my sincerity. And he's still resonating, Aisha, isn't he?
I would say powerfully, and there have been a chance to deconstruct the man. And they have fallen on deaf, barren ground because he continues to inspire people in ways that are unimaginable. The interesting thing is that he has more resonance outside of the United States than within the United States.
Isn't that ironic?
It's totally amazing. But young people are beginning to get a sense of who the man is, and I speak like his wife used to speak. She never
You knew
spoke of
Betty,
him-
didn't it? Yeah,
I did.
you knew Betty Shabazz.
She never spoke of him in the past tense. She always spoke of him in the present.
Present, because
So
he's
I
still
do the
here,
same
isn't he?
thing,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and that's one of the things about the Quran, about the shuhada. Allah says, لا تقولوا أموات بل أحياء عند ربهم يرزقون. About the shuhada, it says that don't say they're dead, they're living. And I still, I think about Malcolm a lot because, I feel that the thing about visionaries, people never see who they are when they're alive. It's visionaries are looking way down the road. And one of the things that Malcolm said is when he came back from Mecca, he said that I believe that Islam can solve the fundamental problem of this society, which is racism. Do you know? And that, to me, that still rings true. And part of my belief is because our Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is the first historical person that I know of to say there is no preference of a black man over a white man or a white man over a black man, except in his piety towards God. I've never seen that anywhere articulated before the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ articulated it. And that message was so important to him that it was in his farewell address. And he put it right out there that there's no room for racism in my religion. And I think that that's something that, because he himself overcame racism, he was a victim of racism, and then in order to overcome it, he became a racist, right? But then recognized that's not overcoming it, it's actually becoming it. And then he goes to Mecca and...
One of the things that Malcolm says when he's asked if he, when he came back from Mecca, they were asking him, does this mean that you don't hate white people anymore, right? And he said, I never really hated anybody.
You know what I love about that? And thank you for bringing that up, because that is one of my favorite quotes of him. He said, the man said to him, you hated white people so much. He said, I've never hated anybody so much. And I don't know if he knew this, and I think it was probably more inspiration, but our Prophet ﷺ said, أبغض بغيضك هونا ما عسى أن يكون حبيبك يوما ما. Never hate a person to an extreme, because he might be somebody who's a friend later on. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فنحن الآن في مركز شونبرغ، والمركز هذا سمي على أحد البورتوريكان، رجل من الجزيرة بورتوريكو، وأتى هنا وأراد أن يعرف، هو كان مثقفا جدا وأراد أن يعرف الناس هنا على تراثهم وتاريخهم وإنتاج الحضاري السود. أسس هذا المكان، وعندهم ما شاء الله دعم لا بأس به. أنت رأيت مكان كبير جدا. ونحن مع إحدى الباحثات هنا، هذه دكتورة سيلفيان ديوف، وتخرجت من سوربون الجامعة الراقية في باريس. وهي ما شاء الله أنا تعرفت عليها من زمان، لأن هي ألفت كتابا أنا أعتقد من أهم الكتب في تدوين تاريخ الإسلام في أمريكا، لأن هي نظرت إلى تاريخ الإسلام من قبل العبيد الذين أتوا من غرب إفريقيا، وخاصة من سنغال وغامبيا وهذه أماكن. ووجد أن في بعض الأوقات واحد في الخمسة كان من المسلمين. هذا 20% من العبيد الذين استرقوا، يعني عبيد غير شرعيين، استرقوا واختطفوا وأوتوا إلى بلاد أمريكا. فهي سمت كتابها Servants of Allah، عبيد الله، كأنها تشير إلى أن هؤلاء كانوا عبيدا في الظاهر، عبيدا للناس، ولكن في الحقيقة عبيد الله. وهي ختمت كتابها بعبارة جميلة جدا عندي، قال: The African Muslims may have been in the Americas the slaves of Christian masters, but their minds were free. They were servants of Allah. يعني المسلمون من أفريقيا الذين استرقوا وأوتوا إلى أمريكا كانوا عبيدا لسادة نصارى، لكن عقولهم كانت حرة، فلذا كانوا عبيدا لله في الحقيقة. فهذا الكتاب مهم جدا، وأنا أرجو أنتم إن شاء الله كلاكما لازم تقرأني الكتاب حتى تفهموا أن الإسلام في الحقيقة جذوره في أمريكا منذ أكثر من 500 سنة الآن. ما هو شيء جديد. فنحن إن شاء الله عندنا فرصة للحديث معها. Sylvian, we had our conference in كذا، كان عندنا مؤتمرا في كاليفورنيا. هي شاركت في تقديم بحث هناك. What got you interested in this subject?
Well, I've been writing and studying the slave trade and slave theory for many, many years, and I was always surprised that I never saw anything on the Muslims. And coming from Senegal, I knew that the Africans who were Muslims had been transported to the Americas, and I was trying to find their trace. And what I found was nothing, or when I found something, it was, well, there may have been some Muslims, but once they arrived in the Americas,
They lost their
and,
Islam.
And discovered a better religion, then they immediately converted. And knowing what I know about Islam and Muslims and West Africans, I thought that it was patently impossible, and that if you looked for it, you would find it. And so that's why I started to look around in not only the United States, but really everywhere Africans have been brought, whether it's English colonies or Spanish or Portuguese or French.
I mean, one of the things about Islam is that, and because you have great familiarity with Muslims, that Muslims don't give up their religion very easily. In fact, the Inquisition would indicate they do it only under immense duress, and even then they many times have preferred death over giving up their religion. When they were coming over here, they were setting up, according to your book, they were actually, they had madrasas and were trying to continue the Quran. And I mean, could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was one of the aspects that I found absolutely fascinating. Is that people not only kept their religion, or some of them, for example, kind of what I call did a pseudo conversion, saying, well, I'm a Christian, just in order to be able to continue with their own religion. But it was not only that they kept, their religion; it's that also they were able to maintain it as a community. And for example, I found many instances of people who continued to write, people who had networks, and I'm explaining that in the book, networks of sailors and other people who were able to buy Qurans as well as other books from Africa to the Americas.
Do we have any of those?
The last Muslim who was known to have been a Muslim in Brazil died in 1959.
1959.
And he had a Quran in Arabic that had come from Nigeria. And for example, you may know that there was a big, long series of revolts.
Revolts, like the Bahia revolt.
Right, led by Muslims. And in the last one, which was the biggest in 1835, the police went, through the houses of Muslims, and they found books. They found Qurans, but they also found grammar books.
نحو كتب في النحو
in Arabic and French, and some of those books actually had been ordered by the Muslims, the Afghan Muslims, at a French bookseller.
Yes.
And he imported those books for them, and they bought it. They were slaves, and they still managed to gather money and to buy those books. It took them sometimes a year. And so I also found other instances in Saint-Domingue, Haiti, of those little schools or little informal settings where people would continue to read and write and learn or teach other people how to read and write.
And often, it was very dangerous to do that.
It was because it was dangerous in many levels, but also because they were using a language that no one else knew. Then they were able to exchange information. They were able to, to send letters, these kind of things. But they were also very, very rebellious, if you will.
By nature,
so,
yes.
By nature. And for many reasons, reasons having to do with the fact that they were not allowed to practice their religion.
Right.
So that was one of the reasons, but also because they didn't want to be slaves. Because,
And the religion itself, which has the idea of slavehood to God,
yes.
and it's something very ingrained in Muslims. One of the things Solzhenitsyn, the Russian author who was in a gulag, he said that of all the Russians that were there was only one group that never submitted to the gulag system, and that was the Chechen Muslims. He said and the oddest thing about it, even though they were beaten and there was great attempts to get them into submission, they would never do it. And he said ultimately the Russians began to feel a sense of awe. They had an awe of them. And one of the things that you indicate in your book is that in some ways was occurring with the slave owners of Muslims.
Yes, yes, and one of the things actually that I would like to stress also is that, for example, during the 1835 rebellion in Bahia, the conspiracy was very, very wide. I mean, we're talking about hundreds and probably thousands of people who were involved in this uprising. But no one talked. I mean, not one person ever
was informing.
No, and after they were caught, no one talked either. I mean, it was completely, people still today don't understand
yes.
how it was possible. But as you mentioned, the fact also was that for many slaveholders, there was this interesting piece of, it was, they admired, many of them, their Muslim slaves because they could read and write.
The dignity.
They were very,
right.
They were very proud. They were also, in many cases, leaders of men. And so there was this, but at the same time, there was a kind of apprehension of what they would
fear.
Be capable of doing.
Uprisings
yes.
and also organizing the other slaves.
So there were basically a move in the 16th century to kind of like destroy or vanish Islam from the Americas by the settlers over there?
In the slave trade directly from Africa started in what is today Haiti and the Dominican Republic in 1501. And in the first 50 years of the arrival of Africans, the Spanish people took 5 decrees saying that we don't want Muslims. Because they were Muslims
troublemakers.
among the first Africans who were coming directly from Africa, while others were coming from Spain, Portugal, etc. And they were troublemakers. And the fear which is expressed in these laws was that they would bring, not only would they bring Islam to this new world, but they would maybe convert the Indians.
Okay.
So that was a real fear at the time, especially among people from Spain and Portugal, because they are just, I mean, that was
the Inquisition time.
Yeah, and it was like 1492.
Mahakam al-Taftish.
Got rid of the
Granada just fell at
Yeah,
that
Granada
time.
just fell at that time. In fact, we know of one man who was boiled alive in New Mexico,
Yes.
a Muslim, for teaching the prayer to Native American peoples
Yeah, so
in the
there was
Inquisition records.
a real
So there were attempts to even convert Muslims religion, or it's just don't spread, keep it to yourself?
don't spread it, but also
No, the Muslims were spreading it though. They
Yes,
were converting
they,
people.
They were, but also, I mean, it was a twofold assault. One was in the Catholic lands to convert them, and to, of course, also to prevent them from spreading their religion. So in the Catholic lands, we see very early on massive attempts at converting people, whether they were Muslims or not, but at least converting
Yes.
them. And
To Christianity or
yes,
to
yes. In the Protestant land, that was not the case, because Protestants thought that if you became a Christian, then you should be free. So that didn't
And they
work
wanted to be
well.
slaves.
Yes.
Yes.
So they resisted that.
Converting them,
Yeah.
yes. In fact, Montesquieu, the French philosopher, he actually said that the Christians could only enslave black people if they considered them less than human. I mean, that was part of how they had to view these people. And so the fact that these Muslims were coming over and really shattering that illusion for some of them, created probably quite a bit of tension.
Yes, I think it's, when you look at those stories and many others, I mean, it's just incredible that people were not only able to, again, what I try to show in the book, I mean, based on documents in French, in English, in Portuguese, and in Spanish, is that at the time, they were well known.
Well, like Amir Abdurrahman was,
yes. They were really everywhere. People knew the members' names, and they had different ideas about that. But what is interesting, as far as the Muslims themselves are concerned, is that they made a real concerted effort at remaining who they were before. You have descriptions of men with turbans, with fez, with long robes, and I found that in Trinidad as well as in
and the women
Cuba,
covering their heads, which is not common in animist black Africa.
Yeah.
This part of history was probably intentionally neglected or tried to be hidden. Now, when you started bringing it out and talking about it, was there any resistance, or was it people, like, wow, this is something amazing that they wanted to know more about?
I was surprised because I wrote that book, and it was published in '98, and I wrote it because I really wanted to, to show the story, and I thought that it was important. But I didn't think that there would be any good reception for that kind of thing at all. And actually, I was surprised that it was very well received. And I must say that after September 11, there was even more of an interest.
It's always an honor to be with you, and we really appreciate the time you've taken. And I hope that a lot of people that hear this are going to sell out your book, because I really hope, and I'd like to see it translated into Arabic and French, and just so people find out about this. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.